centimeters. Oh my God, exactly. My sister just recently had one of her ovaries removed as a result of a 10 centimeter cyst as well, because of the fact that she was struggling with PCOS for so many years. So my sister started utilizing the strategies that I'm going to teach you guys about, and she has seen incredible results. But it's not been an easy road for her either. So Valeria, oh my goodness, my heart goes out to you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're recovering. My GP has been gaslighting me. No freaking kidding. Valeria, I haven't even gone to that depth of my live yet, but this is what I'm saying. So many of the symptoms of insulin resistance, so many of the symptoms of blood sugar dysregulation, they are so overlapping, right? We know our bodies. We know something is wrong, okay? It's the anxiety. It's the skin issues. It's the why am I 34 years old and having hormonal acne flare-ups every 6 months, etc. Like something is wrong. My body is screaming red flags, but because my doctor can't draw blood and tell me that something's off with my blood work, he just sends me about my merry way, telling me, oh, you're fine, you're good. You're just getting older. This is just, you just have stress. Okay, well, listen. We all have stress. We all are dealing with stressors, but it's just normal to have all these problems for the rest of our lives. So my answer to you is no, okay? And if you just joined me, Valeria, welcome. My name is Sarah, and I help people reverse insulin resistance naturally. I was struggling significantly with it. I also was somebody who had a lot of hormonal issues in my early 20s. I'm 35 now, but I actually had a fibroid tumor removed at the age of 20, almost 21, as a result to hormonal imbalances. And that was when my hormonal dysregulation journey started, but it didn't end until about 2 years ago. I was struggling all throughout my 20s. So many things I wish I knew in my 20s that I know now, and I'm a nurse. So kind of embarrassing that there's so many things that, you know, could have helped me, weren't effective because we were heavily following the medical model, the medical system of being gaslit, of being told that your symptoms are normal. Even just to get diagnosed with the fibroid tumor, it took me months. I was going to my doctor requesting ultrasounds, because I was like, it can't be normal to be on the ground rolling around with pain every period. It just doesn't make sense. And if you've had PCOS, as you have, Larry, you would probably have experienced the exact same thing. That cyst must have been causing you so much discomfort and pain, so much so that it disrupted your other organs. It literally started banging on the appendix's door saying like, let's have an inflammatory attack right now. So sorry, but I can totally relate in the worst ways possible. So I'm so sorry you've had to go through too, but it just seems like it's so many of us, right? 1 in 3 people have insulin resistance. Up to 70% of women with PCOS have insulin resistance, but it's not just the PCOS ladies. It's the type 2 diabetes ladies and men. It's the high blood pressure ladies and men. It is the cholesterol ladies and men. It is the liver, the fatty liver, and it's the specifically inability to lose weight. So the best way to know if you have it, the best way if you're not sure to tell, is if you're growing a belly like this. That is a great indication that your body's in fat storage mode. Why? Because our body can't burn fat and store fat at the same time. I was never in pain. I'm a rare case, apparently, due to the surgeon. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. You were not, well, so it came up like you weren't even aware that you had the cyst, I guess, until things got really bad, which sometimes we don't know what's worse or better, right? Sometimes having the pain alerts us that something's wrong, and then the no pain is like things have to get so bad before they get fixed. So your body, it can't burn fat and store fat at the same time, right? It's either doing one or the other, okay? There's a switch, right? And it cannot do both simultaneously, all right? You're either burning fat or you're storing fat. And if your insulin levels are high, you're storing fat. And if your insulin levels are low, you're burning fat, okay? So I'm gonna teach you right now what drives those high levels of insulin, what gets it to go high in the first place, okay? Stress is one of them. High levels of cortisol will disrupt your liver, will drive your liver to release glucose into the bloodstream in the absence of food. This will raise your blood sugar. Every single time you have a blood sugar spike, insulin is produced, okay? You have insulin rising. So there is no blood sugar spike without the production of insulin. So this is why it plays a very critical role, okay? That's part one, okay? We know now that every time insulin is high, you're storing fat, okay? Every time insulin is low, you're burning fat. But I want you guys to have an understanding of all the things that could be driving this problem if you have it, okay? So we know stress is one of them because it raises your cortisol levels, and this will raise your insulin and inflammation as well. Not just that, but poor sleep, okay? Poor sleep quality, high stress, these will all drive it and make it a lot worse, but it doesn't stop there, okay? Alcohol use will make it worse often. Smoking and vaping will make it worse. But the biggest driving force, the biggest force to all of our blood sugar regulation is the food that we consume that we don't realize is having such a significant impact on our blood sugar, okay? For example, processed and ultra processed foods and eating out more significantly than eating in our home and making our food and knowing exactly what we're making and what we're using in our ingredients is a big driving force. And let's be perfectly honest, how many of us in the last 3 days ate from home every single day, okay? Majority of us are very busy. We're working individuals. We're raising kids. We're working and we're raising kids and we're busy all the time, right? So running around, eating everywhere is one of the biggest triggers for higher levels of blood sugar spike, regardless of what you're eating, because often the processed foods and the processed ingredients drive your blood sugar more significantly than anything else. I asked the gyno what to do going forward, and she said, keep enjoying life. Interesting result. Okay, Valeria, keep enjoying life. Well, I mean, I agree. You should keep enjoying life for sure. But hey, guess what, Valeria? Similar to many of the other problems, like, and I know the irony here, similar to other problems. Okay, you removed the acute problem. You removed the cyst, right? But if we don't heal the environment with which the cyst grew in, what's going to happen? The cysts are going to come back. Okay. I'll give you an example. I had that fibroid. It was like a 10 by 10 centimeter fibroid back when I was 21. I didn't know how to heal the environment. I went to a naturopath, a homeopath, my doctor, the gyno. I was trying to figure out how to heal this environment. Okay. Did I do different things to try to be successful at it? Sure, I tried, but I still got more fibroids after. Why? Because the environment which produces the higher levels of estrogen, the fibroid growth, the hormonal dysregulation was still activated, okay? So oftentimes we might remove the problem, but if the environment is not healthy, the problems can still come back, okay? So you are not wrong to ask that question, Valeria. That was an amazing question. Let me give you another example, guys, okay? Let's take a liver transplant, for example, okay? What is the number one reason? This is all related. It all makes sense because these are all metabolic health related issues. PCOS, reproductive organ issues, high blood pressure, liver issues, fatty liver. Okay. What is the biggest contraindication to a person getting a new liver if they need a liver transplant? Okay. So if you have this list, you have this big, long transplant list. Okay. And let's say your name comes up on the donor list. You're ready to get a liver transplant. The biggest thing that they check in your likelihood of getting that new liver is, well, what's your age? What are your medical conditions? And is this person likely to take care of the new liver? Okay, because you can put a new liver in a sick body. The new liver will also get sick if we don't heal the environment. Makes sense? So a lot of people on the transplant list, especially with liver transplants, you guys have probably heard of this and known of this because you probably all have some family member down the line, we all do, who struggled with alcoholism, who maybe overused alcohol and it led to their liver issues and now they need a transplant or something like that, okay? They're the least likely to get the transplant. Why? Because the likelihood of them damaging the new liver is directly related to the fact that they struggled with alcohol abuse. Is that right? No, I'm not saying that's right at all. I'm not saying that's right in any ways. That's not fair or right, to one person or the next. But the point I'm trying to make is that because doctors know that that new organ in the sick environment, in the alcohol abuse environment, is just going to damage the new liver. So they go lower on the list, which is very unfortunate and sad, especially for loved ones who are hoping their family member will get better. But you get what I'm saying. So sure, the surgeon did a great job of operating on your ovary, got rid of the cyst. Okay, now what do I do to try to avoid this? One might ask, because my body obviously is naturally inclined to some hormonal dysregulation. Well, you found me at the right time because I'm going to teach you, okay? But unfortunately, your doctor's not going to teach you. Your doctor's going to tell you to keep enjoying your life. And then guess what? In 6 months from now, you're going to have 3 more cysts. And then you're just like, great, I'm right down the same path, okay? So if you guys are learning something, let me know. Put a 1 in the live. Let me know where you guys are joining me from, okay? The biggest driving force to our insulin resistance for 80% of the population who have, the gyno said you have 2 options, birth control. Oh my God, Valeria, you can imagine what I'm saying. You can imagine my frustrations with those things. And I'm a nurse. I understand the root and the need for medications, right? I said, I'll think about it. I'm so glad you found me, Valeria. I'm so glad we found each other because listen, that's not the solution. That is a temporary fix, but no, it is not the solution. Okay. So the driving force to our insulin resistance tends to be around food. The 80% of people on this earth who are struggling with a metabolic health issue, related to insulin resistance, which is 80% of the population, okay, having cardiovascular disease, having high blood pressure, having high cholesterol, having liver issues or obesity, okay, all metabolic health issues that have insulin resistance at the root, they have one thing in common, okay? They have a lot of blood sugar spikes throughout the day. They might be drinking a lot of their calories and sugar, okay? Maybe, maybe not, okay? This can vary, okay? And it's not that sugar is to blame. It's not that carbohydrates are to blame, but there's a bit of a trend, right? A lot of processed foods, a lot of fast foods, okay? And even if you are trying to eat healthy and exercise, if you're still having a lot of blood sugar spikes throughout the day, the one thing in common is that you have high levels of insulin, okay? And for somebody who ends up with the metabolic health issues, a lot of the time, they don't realize what it was that was the driving force because we have been socialized to believe so many things are normal. Put a 1 alive if you grew up drinking orange juice and genuinely believed for a lot of your life, and this is me included, don't get me wrong, this is me included, genuinely thought that there was some level of benefit to having orange juice. Yeah, there's vitamin C in there. It's oranges. What could be so wrong with orange juice, right? Put a 1 alive if you can remember your grandparents drinking orange juice growing up every morning at breakfast time. Put a 1 alive if you really just fundamentally don't think there's that much wrong with orange juice in general. If you are of that belief, you're just like me. You didn't really think it was that bad or it was that big of a problem, right? But here's the thing. Starting your day how most people did for a long period of time, the last 56 years, a lot of different scenarios. Even let's just say you go and you get a McDonald's Happy Meal for breakfast. You go get your McDonald's McMuffin. What are they giving with the meal? They're giving you orange juice. And consuming our calories through beverages, juice, pop, coffee with cream and sugar, lattes, let's say, sweetened teas, all of those things are going to raise our blood sugar and then raise our insulin threshold through the roof. And remember, every time you have a blood sugar spike, you have an insulin surge, okay? Every single time you consume something, I'm using drinks as the example because they're a big one that people often are misguided by. They really don't think they're that bad. I didn't think they were that bad. Okay. I was somebody who drank a coffee with cream and sugar all day long for I guess 8 to 9 hours a day. When I finished my first coffee with cream and sugar, I was sipping on my next coffee with cream and sugar. So all day long, my blood sugar was elevated and going up and down as a result of insulin being produced, trying to bring down the blood sugar. Having another sip of coffee with cream and sugar, insulin tries to bring it down. Having another sip, tries to bring it down. Has another sip, tries to bring it down. Does that make sense? Put it 1 live. So all day long, what's happening is if you're sipping on some level of beverage, 3 or 4 pops, 3 or 4 juices, because you don't chug your juice right away, right? You're sitting there, you're sipping on it, you're enjoying it. You don't chug your coffee right away. You're enjoying it, you're sipping on it. And every single sip is a blood sugar spike. Every single sip is an insulin response. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope that's making sense for you guys. If it's not, I can re-clarify. Okay. Again, I'm using juice. I'm using drinks as an example because it's one big problem, but it's not the only problem. Okay. And nowhere here did I even touch upon carbohydrates yet. Okay. So now let's just say you're somebody who doesn't drink pop, doesn't drink any coffee with cream and sugar, only consumes your beverages through water. Water alone, that is it, okay? There might be something else going on if you're struggling with low energy, if you're struggling with belly fat, if you're struggling with cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. There might just be something else going on, and I'm gonna help you get to the bottom of that today, okay? But let's just use the drink example, right? So if we're sipping on a drink, having Coke, having pop, having energy drinks, Monsters, coffee, cream and sugar all day long, your blood sugar goes up, your insulin rises. Insulin is a hormone, okay? So it takes longer for it to come down as opposed to blood sugar. Put a 1 alive if you use a continuous glucose monitor, if you check your blood sugars before and after meals or pretty consistently throughout the day. Nobody? No one? That's okay. No problem. So continuous glucose monitors, they regulate, they manage, and they assess your blood sugars all day long, right? So it'll alert you to lows, it'll alert you to highs. So if you're having a blood sugar spike from a meal, what you'll notice if you have a CGM is that after about 2 hours, your blood sugar starts to go down, okay? Thank you so much for the sunglasses. Very cool, very cute, okay? Appreciate it. Is your blood sugar will start to go down. That is normal, okay? normal response. But insulin, it takes about 3 to 4 hours to come down. Remember, it's a hormone, right? So it's working incredibly hard to get the sugar from your bloodstream from that elevation from your meal into your cells. Okay, that is exactly what insulin does. It takes the sugar from your meal that's in your bloodstream and puts it inside the cell for energy. That is how our body gets energy, through the insulin telling your glucose to go from your bloodstream and into your cell for energy. Okay, that's how that happens. Insulin binds to your cell receptor, your insulin cell receptor, and that will signal glucose to enter the cell for energy, okay? So as we continue to have blood sugar spikes throughout the day, like I said, it takes 3 to 4 hours for your insulin levels to come down because it's working really, really, really hard to get all the sugar from your bloodstream into your cell to energize your cell. And this isn't just happening to one cell. This is happening to trillions of cells all over your liver, all over your muscle, all over your fat, okay? So what's happening now is every single time you have another blood sugar spike all day long, so you start your day with coffee, cream, and sugar, you're having a snack midday, mid-morning, then you're having lunch, okay? What ends up happening for most of us, and again, like I said, the 80% of the population who are struggling with these metabolic health issues, is we're eating or drinking something all day long, okay? These food options, I know they're not probably the typical of what everybody eats all day long, but let's just be really honest. Whatever this is we're spiking our blood sugar, okay? So if our blood sugar is elevated, morning, lunch, dinner, snacks in between, drinks in between, and not to mention if we're having any stress throughout the day, and that's also raising our blood sugar, as a result, what is happening is your insulin is high and elevated all day long, okay? This is how we start to develop insulin resistance. This does not happen. The problem as it arises with insulin resistance does not happen over one day of eating like this, okay? It doesn't even happen over 1 month of eating like this. For most people, your body is so incredible at trying to heal, at trying to maintain levels of homeostasis, at trying to balance your blood sugar without causing disease for so long that you will have high levels of insulin in your body, driving inflammation, driving swelling, driving fat storage, driving high blood pressures, driving all these early issues, driving the skin ailments, driving the psoriasis, okay? Check out what my face looked like prior to reversing insulin resistance. That was how swollen my face was. I wasn't significantly overweight. I never have been in my whole life, okay? I've always, I'm 5'2". The highest I've ever been is like 160. I'm not pregnant. Pregnant, I've gone up to 200 pounds, but I've kind of like wiggled around the 150, 160 place. But even here, the swelling was, you can see, so astronomical, right? And I wasn't pregnant in this photo. Just so much swelling that now at the age of 35, I actually look younger because my skin is better, my hormones are regulated, and I'm able to burn fat more effectively than I was here. This was a result of a lot of swelling. Put a 1 to live if your face looks like that. If you feel like you have a lot of swelling and puffiness when you wake up in the morning under your eyes, okay? So all of those insulin spikes all day long, that is what's causing that. And you probably don't realize how harmful it is because most of the time we just think a lot of the coffee's harmless, the juice harmless, having your pop here and there a couple days a week harmless, but we're not looking at it as it relates to all the other things we're consuming, right? And we've been all conditioned. Probably every single person on this live, unless if you learned how to regulate insulin resistance already, has been conditioned that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Put a 1 to live if you've always thought that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Put a 1 to live if you've always thought that in order to regulate blood sugar, and especially if you have type 2 diabetes or some other type of metabolic health issue, put a 1 to live if you've been taught. And good evening, Saul. Welcome. Thank you for the likes. Glad to see you're here and doing well. Put a 1 to live if you've been taught that eating every 2 hours. Oh, retired for good. Welcome back. Eating every 2 hours is going to keep your blood sugar stable. Okay. Maybe it prevents a hypoglycemic episode or a lower sugar, okay? But it's not regulating anything. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret today, okay? The eating every 2 hours diet, the breakfast is the most important meal of the day, got blown into mainstream health teaching, not because it actually regulates your blood sugar, but because it prevents side effects to the medications that you're taking if you have high blood sugar, okay? Hi, Cass, welcome back. Oh, we talked, right? Welcome. I think you were in my live recently, or we've chatted. I honestly, I talk to so many people a day, but I do remember you and I remember your pictures. So I know you've been here before. Welcome back. Okay, nice to see you again, all right? So I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, okay? The little secret is that if you are on those medications for type 2 diabetes, okay, or pre-diabetes, you're welcome to type them in the live. I'm not gonna say them because TikTok can be funny about the use of saying those types of names. But how the every 2-hour diet got brought into mainstream health teaching was because if you're on those medications, right, their job is to lower your blood sugar, okay? So if you're not eating, the consequence of being on those medications will be a hypoglycemic episode, and you can bottom out because those medications are very strong. So now instead of just monitoring and lowering medication doses, instead of asking people or trying to help people modify their lifestyles, they just told people, okay, while you're on the medications, make sure you eat every 2 hours so you don't have a low sugar. Does that make sense? But put a 1 in the live if you already know what having low sugars feels like. You maybe have reactive hypoglycemia. You may already be struggling with dizziness sometimes, lethargy, cravings. Like signs of a hypoglycemic episode are, not feeling so well, dizziness, lethargy, cravings, those types of symptoms will come up in the not severe, exactly retired for good. So your body is activating the hypoglycemia episode. If you're not on any medications and you're having low sugars, just know it's because of those high levels of insulin that finally start working. The same way as if a medication is trying to lower your blood sugar, insulin in your body's already trying to do that, okay? Type 2 diabetes isn't a problem with not enough insulin. It's a problem with your cells not responding, right? Like I showed you guys in that diagram. It's a problem with the way your cells respond to insulin. So as we develop type 2 diabetes, it's because your insulin binds to the cell to try to get the glucose from the bloodstream into the cell for energy, but the cells stop responding. They stop hearing insulin's request. Insulin has a request. Hello, knock, 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 knock. Please cell, open up so we can get the glucose from the bloodstream into the cell for energy. The cell's like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, you eat too much, you talk too much, Sarah, just shut up. That's what your cell is saying, okay? Your cell is saying that to your body. And so what happens over time is the blood sugar starts to elevate, okay? But if all of a sudden, your cell's worn out, but your pancreas is working in overdrive to produce more insulin. If all of a sudden your cell listens because insulin is pushing its way through and you get a surge of glucose entering the cell for energy, that's what relates to the hypoglycemia. That is why you're having that reactive hypoglycemia. What about my body feeling a bit weak, shaky? Yes, absolutely, Cass. 1,000%, okay? Weak, shaky, cold, feelings of coldness all the time. Your hands are cold or your hands get clammy, okay? Temperature dysregulation in your body, regardless of age, numbness, tingling in your fingers and your extremities. These are all symptoms of dysregulated blood sugar, okay? Headaches, migraine headaches, cravings, dizziness, what else? Dizzy spells. I'm sure it can be linked to vertigo, except, there isn't concrete evidence around the correlation. A lot of times vertigo gets no known cause, but there's a blood sugar component to it as well. And those hypoglycemic lows as a result of high levels of insulin from consistently eating a lot of snacks throughout the day. Put a 1 in the live if you can honestly say, let me just put it out there. And this is no judgment. This is me, okay? I am you, you are I. Like, I'm a regular person who deals with these problems myself, okay? Put a 1 in the live if you can solemnly swear that over the last 48 hours, you haven't had any processed foods. Let's just put it out there. Put a 1 in the live if you believe you've had no processed foods. And if you're not sure what that is, I can happily go through what processed food means or what it is. But when I take my blood sugar first thing in the morning, it's usually 160, okay? And after lunch, 60s, 70s. Okay, yeah, so are you on any medication retired for good? I can't remember if we've talked about it or not. I don't think so. I think no. That's not bad. These are not bad readings, right? Even 160, yeah, it's on the higher side. Like, it's higher for a fasting. But if you have pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes already, no meds. Okay. Yeah, so it's a little bit higher of a fasting. After lunch, that would be normal. 60s and 70s after lunch is normal because your insulin's working to bring down that blood sugar, right? So around 2 hours after a meal, it will go down. That's normal. How do you feel though, retired for good? Do you have low energy? Do you have good energy? Do you struggle with belly fat? Are you struggling with cravings for sugar, salt? Let me know some of your symptoms you might be having. And it's also very common as well, if you're struggling with insulin resistance, to have those higher morning blood sugar readings. That's correlated with dawn phenomenon, right? So between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., your body will release growth hormone, will have a surge of hormones. So oftentimes your blood glucose will go up as a result of cortisol, as a result of different hormones being produced at that time. And so most people often wake up with a higher fasting blood sugar. My strategy actually helped with that. So typically over the first few weeks of being on the strategy I'm going to teach you guys, your blood sugar in the morning will stay the same, and then slowly and slowly it will start to go down in the morning. But after a meal, it would be normal for it to go down, especially 2 hours, because insulin is working very hard, okay, to bring down your blood sugar from that meal, all right? So I didn't get any low energy, usually hot all the time, shakes, yeah. So having that reactive hypoglycemia, exactly, or just hypoglycemia, having lower blood sugars, which happens with a lot of the time. You think, oh, I'm having low blood sugar, so I don't have a problem with diabetes. Yeah, not yet, right? Because the insulin is just high. It's working really hard. And so the problem with insulin resistance is that it doesn't mean the cells don't listen, right? But this is what usually happens, right? What does it mean when I'm feeling weak and shaky? Yeah, let me tell you, Cass, it means you have low blood sugar. I'll show you. It could even mean your blood sugar is high, but for a lot of people, that's a sign. The weak and the shaky part is usually a sign of a low, but it could be signs of highs too. It depends. Is it before meals? Is it when you're fasted? To know exactly what's going on with you, I'd have to know a little more about you, your age, if you're on meds, the diagnosis, stuff like that. But I'll give you a general overview of what exactly happens with a person who's getting hypoglycemic episodes. Because listen, hypoglycemia doesn't mean you don't have a sugar problem. It doesn't mean you don't have an insulin problem. It means you still have a blood sugar dysregulation problem. You're still struggling to regulate your blood sugar. And it probably means you're having a lot of blood sugar highs followed by a lot of crashes. It's just you're not experiencing the symptoms when you're in the high, because when we're having blood sugar highs, we actually feel better. We actually feel that surge of energy, okay? But what's happening is this. Let me put it very simply for you guys, okay? This is how you know it is still a blood sugar regulation problem. This is how you still know you could be on the path to high blood sugars, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes. This is how you know you're on the path to fatty liver, high blood pressure, those metabolic health issues, and weight gain and obesity. I'll tell you why simply, okay? Because every single time you eat, you have a blood sugar spike. So we're all probably eating at some point throughout the day. Every 2 to 3 hours is the common thing for most of us, for 80% of us. And for 80% of us, we're consuming most of our calories through carbohydrates. What we know is carbohydrates have the greatest impact. You usually don't have sugar, okay, but do you have carbs? Do you have toast? Do you have crackers? Do you have muffins? Do you have rice? Do you have pasta? Are you getting enough protein? Okay, because sugar is not just added sugar. Glucose is also comes and it's broken down in our body the same way if we're having carbohydrates. So processed foods, granola bars, protein bars, these are all examples of foods that get confusing, right? They get confusing because you're like, oh, well, carb, rice, that's not sugar. It's sugar. It's broken down the same way a bowl of ice cream is. I mean, it happens when I don't have sugar. Yeah, that's okay. That's what I'm saying, because you probably still have carbs. Unless if you're on a keto or carnivore diet, you're getting some form of carbohydrates, okay? So this is exactly what's happening. So your cells look like this, okay? They're circular. I mean, I'll show you a better picture of a cell, but I'll just show you for the purpose of this explanation. But this is your cell, right? You have trillions of those in your body, okay? I was on O's for 2 years, but it was hurting my stomach, so doctor took me off last September. Okay, got it. Yeah, well, there's lots of side effects to that. So I'm glad you met me. I would love to still help you regardless. I want to help you on your journey to natural health solutions, because yeah, those medications have side effects, and I can almost bet why your doctor put you on it, because they wanted to help you with possible cravings, wanted to help you with possible maybe weight loss if that's what the goal was, okay, and metabolic health. But listen, it's not the only solution, and I'm going to teach you a different solution today, okay? So those are your cells. These are your cells, right? Every single time you have a blood sugar spike, every single time you eat, carbs, proteins, fats, doesn't matter if it's sugar or not, okay? High blood sugar is not even to do with sugar, let's just say. It's about the sugar in your body and how your body responds to eating, okay? Proteins cause a blood sugar spike. Fats cause a blood sugar spike. But if you're insulin resistant, okay, this is what's happening, right? You have your cells. your blood sugar goes up, insulin is produced. Insulin is a hormone, dominant growth hormone produced by your pancreas. Its most known for job is to regulate and lower your blood sugar, but it also tells your body to store fat. So when insulin goes up and it's high, your body's in fat storage mode. When your insulin is low, we can burn fat for fuel and we can lose weight, okay? But every time we eat, we get a blood sugar spike, your insulin goes up. The only way to know how high your insulin levels are is by getting a fasting insulin check done, by getting periodic insulin checks done throughout the day to see how your body responds after meals. Another great way to tell is if you have higher blood sugars, if you're testing your blood sugar, fasting, before meals, after meals, and your blood sugar is kind of high, because the only way to know exactly how food impacts your blood sugar is by testing, but most of us don't test, right? Unless we have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, okay? So we don't actually have a concrete way of telling, but the best way to tell is by our symptoms, okay? So insulin's produced, okay? Its job is to bind to your cell. When it binds to your cells, this activates the glucose channel to open. Now the cell is opened, all right? This allows glucose from your bloodstream, the glucose, okay, to enter your cell. Got it? Okay, that's normal. That's a normal reaction. Insulin binds, cell opens, sugars start to go down because the cell is entering your, the sugar's entering your cell for energy, all right? With hypoglycemia, reactive hypoglycemia, those hypoglycemic states, it's because your body's only able to burn glucose, okay? Once it's done burning glucose, you have a low. Why? Because insulin is so high. So if you're starting to develop insulin resistance, what happens is when your blood sugar goes up, insulin binds to your cell, it's hoping that the cell will open to get the sugars into your bloodstream, into your cell, from your bloodstream into your cell. That's what it's hoping will happen. When insulin binds, it's hoping that the cell will open, okay? The cell doesn't open. The cell's exhausted. The cell's overwhelmed, okay? We eat too much. We have too many blood sugar spikes throughout the day. We have too much stress. We have poor sleep. This is causing blood sugar dysregulation, okay? So the first insulin molecule binds. Cell doesn't listen. But the pancreas is not stupid. The pancreas is like, oh, we'll just send some more insulin. So now instead of just conking out and you dying, okay, your body's working very hard to fix this problem, right? So your pancreas produces more insulin. Now you have, instead of just one beautiful insulin molecule binding to the cell to open the glucose channel, you have 10, 20 insulins binding to the cell. This rapidly gets all the glucose from your bloodstream into your cell, okay? And then what happens? You have low blood sugar. Why? Because it sent way too much sugar into your cell. Okay? You have hormones in your body that will offset the lows for survival. You have glucagon, right? Glucagon raises your blood sugar when your blood sugars are low. But now you're sent on the insulin glucagon roller coaster, the glucose roller coaster, where you're having lots of highs, lots of lows. And the root cause, the main player here, the main dominating factor here is just the fact that your cells have stopped listening to insulin. And now too much insulin is putting a lot of pressure on the cell to open. It pushes all that sugar from your bloodstream in, and this causes you to have lows. Okay, lows are not a good thing either, right? Lows are an indication that it's only a matter of time before your cell stops listening altogether, and now your sugars are elevated and they stay elevated, right? And now you need insulin, or now you need medications to try to help you to lower your blood sugar levels. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, okay? This is happening to a lot of us. It's not just you. It's happening to a lot of us. When you start to follow the strategy I'm about to teach you guys, what happens is your blood sugar starts to regulate. You're able to access GLP-1 effectively in your body, glucagon-like peptide. You're able to access your glucagon effectively. Your hormones, your pancreas produces it, okay? Your pancreas produces insulin, and guess what? Your cells listen, okay? Your cells listen to the commands. That's how we heal our body. When we start focusing on insulin lowering strategies, we start regulating our insulin levels, we start to regulate our blood sugar, which is exactly what I'm going to teach you guys how to do today. I'm going to teach you exactly what to eat first thing in the morning. I'm going to teach you exactly how to prevent these massive blood sugar spikes doing things that we don't even think are that bad. For example, put a 1 in the live. If over the last 2 or 3 days, you ate oatmeal for breakfast, granola for breakfast, or you had a smoothie for breakfast, okay? Put a 1 live if you had any one of those 3. Oatmeal, granola, or a smoothie. They all seem like pretty healthy breakfast options, right? I don't see anything wrong with those breakfast options. oatmeal, granola, smoothie, they all sound like health foods, right? Put it on the live if you've had that for breakfast over the last 3 days. No one. Okay, good. Okay, let me know what you guys eat for breakfast then. I don't even need to be here. You guys are all amazing. Let me know what you guys had for breakfast. Why I said those 3 options in particular is very specific, because those 3 options, eggs and avocado, amazing, Donna, amazing. Eggs and avocado is great. I love that option, okay? Protein egg bites. Excellent, Sylvia. Excellent. You guys are perfect. Exactly, Saul. You guys are amazing. Why I say those 3 options is because those are 3 things I used to eat a lot for breakfast, thinking they were healthy, okay? Thinking that they were health foods. They're not really not health foods. Like, they are categorized as healthier, let's say, than other things. But the way that they spike your blood sugar in the morning, smoothies in particular, juicing, blending your fruits and vegetables, these types of things that are typically health food in nature are actually really bad for our blood sugar, okay? Now, that's important. Why? Because I'm going to teach you exactly how to break your fast. I mean, listen, Sylvia, you got it right on point there. Donnie, you got it right on point. You guys know what to do. So I don't need to teach you guys, but I'm going to teach you guys why it's so important to break our fast, break your overnight fast in a strategic way, because it helps to prevent these glucose roller coasters and the highs and the lows, okay? It's very important that before I get into the strategy, that you guys understand this one main thing, okay? One main thing. And if we don't understand, we'll have to repeat it like 14 times, because I need you guys to understand this. It's super important, okay? Every single time you have a blood sugar spike, insulin is produced. I know you guys know that because we already talked about that like 10 times, okay? But insulin takes a long time to come down. It doesn't act as quickly as you'll notice your blood sugar comes down, okay? That's a key thing. So when insulin is high and elevated, you cannot burn fat. What does that mean? You're not burning fat as an energy source, okay? Your body has 2 main fuel sources. You're going to the gas station, you're trying to pump gas in your body. You got glucose and you got fat. Those are your 2 options, okay? It's not diesel, it's not whatever, regular premium gas, okay? We got glucose, Carrie, welcome, and we got fat, all right? Those are our 2 main options, right? Now, when insulin is high, it cannot utilize fat for energy. Make sense? When insulin is low, you can burn off your glucose because you've already done that, and you can start burning fat for energy, okay? The only way we can go to the gas station and grab our fat to start burning, which is good. That's how we feel good. That's how we get long-term sustained energy. That's how our skin looks good. That's how we have anti-inflammation. That's how we lose weight, okay? We got to be utilizing fat. That's the best way for our body to heal, is if we're able to tap into fat stores. We're able to burn off the fat in our liver. We're able to burn off the fat in our fat cells. We're able to lower the inflammation all over our body and our blood vessels for our cardiovascular system, okay? The only way we can do that is when we're effectively burning off our glucose, our insulin lowers, and then we burn fat for fuel, okay? That's the only way. So when we are on the glucose roller coaster, when we are constantly consumed with lots of blood sugar highs and lots of blood sugar lows, insulin is working very hard in all of these junctures, okay? We're snacking all day long. We're eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, drink. It makes it very difficult for our insulin levels to go down ever at all, if not at all, okay? And your insulin levels will be high 11, 12 hours out of the day. If your insulin levels are high for 11, 12 hours of the day because you're snacking, because listen, just because you're having a glucose load, I hope that point was driven home, that just because you're having hypoglycemic episodes does not mean your insulin isn't high. Your insulin is still high. It's driving the sugars down so much that you're having those hypoglycemic episodes, okay? But it doesn't mean your insulin is going down, because then what happens if you eat, again, to raise your blood sugar, right? Every 2 hours because you're having a low, this sends your insulin up again, okay? So for most people with insulin resistance, your insulin is high all day long. It's up in this brown area, okay? It's high all day long. You're having blood sugar highs, blood sugar low, blood sugar high, blood sugar low, blood sugar high, blood sugar low, but your insulin is not able to come down. And what does that mean? You're only at the gas